Hello, Facebook sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, and confirm. They're going to pretend other and using more predicate acts methods recorded. But also, they have rules with the Facebook page of a principal child abuser that they forced, and rules with the Joshua Julian and a whole bunch of other people directly and indirectly involved with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, in a whole bunch of different countries and their roles here with us and there with themselves. Criminally foreign influence slash hyper criminally foreign influence. It's not that nature shows us that it wants us to appreciate how we are a bound species volume and how we are independent simultaneously, individuals of an individual species body, just like the other species bodies with group different slash s, because there is that distinct identity of simultaneous nature. So mandated law is offensively prevented. And descriptions of people, we had brushing with them, how the police forms are mixed with the police departments. WFSB has named rules with names, wire crimes roles and methods that began when I was a little with also fake conversations. These are people that sought me out to make confessions since I was a kid, and usually I have the only time I saw them. So then they pretend me to fake and other people to fake locations, fake ties to other people that weren't even in the same classes together. That's another trick. As one of the things that we could observe, connected, there were connections made to people at each campus I went to from people off those campuses, involved increasingly stacking predicate acts with facts and federal evidences crimes into databases and pretending others. So both the police and the overt and the criminal enterprises, including private ones, at the same time, the difference of that is used consciously by this breaching method that employed that only capable of being manifest for the laws that were entrenched and uses of that which was entrenched that our founders communicated for us to explain and understand. Instead, we have other things, others ourselves, blamed for that breaching method, and we have styles and natures of logic that can't defend themselves and not do anything but afford criminal insidiousness natures of uses of the names of the sciences, used tactically abridged. Even religious books were written with consciousness that even the people who defend them and their difference would be used remotely by the breaching method. So the people defending the Quran and the Old Testament are defending it out of sequence, tactically ulterior from how those books come with parts right up front that dictate how to read them and to defend them. But they don't do that. They defend it out of sequence because they have to pretend, oh, well, I'm a Muslim or I'm a Christian, because it's also or Jewish. There are Jewish people involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, and then pretending it's prejudice. That's recorded. Increasingly, a Joshua Schumach's mother is involved with identity theft, fraud, slander, just trying to take a picture of someone or have someone see it and then say, pretend we knew each other. Her and lying about how we knew each other, with exceptions. There are some black KKK themed and interreligious nutbags involved, like with the military, with identity theft, fraud, slanders. Increasingly, people that planted evidences from other areas on my street involved with a Kalo and O'Brien, with wire crimes and sticking things with their teachers fake into databases, and people from other areas acting stuff on all sides of the people's houses with it. Miss Riley is one of the names that students and teachers recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed involved with a Mike DeMay and their religion, involved also with people on off the Board of Education, with foreign and domestic criminally foreign influence uses of the Board of Education. In effect, human nature's quality aspects and styles forced by nature itself, but also forced by our founders. Also forced for those parts at the beginning of the Old Testament and the Quran that dictate how to read them Also forced by the real reason. Most people don't even know about those parts. So we don't. Also, you guys would have discovered this about had you been allowed anyone to be honest about the extortion of George Washington, but you don't even have to have a book to be able to discern it. See, but they're making it harder and harder by replacing what America's founders behind James Madison, his plan, communicated. They had to counter-extort and force the Constitutional Convention rules because worse than just slavery against every single person, sickly distinctly too, to use functionally how sickly non-distinctly was is left out by voices A through Z, by nature's A through Z. Used to avoid finite details, sequence shifts, active grouped truths used for lies or whatever. And for example, truths are on a mass scale only capable of being used for lies by people speaking for the law, per what forgiveness is also about, and important here, because they're where and how we can observe other things, others ourselves, being maintained by a breaching method, blamed for things our founders communicated for us to blame on the breaching method. One of the things that is true always that caused slavery, a human fact achieving nature breaching method, and forced roles with it. So we're going to examine it, and we're going to examine all that's in place of it, standing where there are people with obligations to teach. What they are obligated to teach has been replaced by this identity, by the identity of the breaching method that was sophistication here before they were. And while they became natures of sophistication, who want and need natures of debate about it, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. Otherwise, we would have come right to this principal truth. We're supposed to be honest about the extortion of George Washington and about his use of James Madison's plan and the founders behind him. So our founding locations and the locations next to them, our name still rolls with criminally foreign influence uses of databases and being and having been influenced to make fake exceptions and ones that aren't at all. In other words, I never had a conversation at all with Gary Briggs on as one of the names on Church Street in Old Wethersfield. That Kalo and tomorrow and others recorded. Others I don't even know other names. They're involved with putting mail crimes and wire crimes with Wethersfield police and with medical families, foreign and domestic, and intercampuses. Central Connecticut State University in New Britain and Hartford Hospital's campus and fire departments also have some of the different police forms. Even co-defendants of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, have roles planting evidences at corners there with news names, as one's further involved with Facebook, with child offenders. How are you? How you doing? Very Field, number 17. So Facebook has recorded, but they all it's inter-platforms. The FBI also has rules with influenced Facebook to it, and the differences between Facebook and people or the FBI's rules is also used, also relative to where and how they go. Both sides of criminal and civil cases, including in the World Trade Center attack and the court next to it, and the court itself have been planting sequence shifts and with the news at the same time. And since WFSB, Connecticut's Channel 3, they've been planting World Trade Center attack evidences and forcing Saudis to collusions with them. No, as the Saudi attackers also forced us to collusions against ourselves. For example, regarding torture and regarding the cover-up, its uses of pretend that's their motivations. Because there's remote uses of how we are names individually grouped together now as systems, tactical ulterior from natures, which this is a definition of nature being the Constitution unabridged. But we have abridgments to it per state uses also of lawyers, all sides of cases, their family members, fake motivation. This breaching method ducks behind other people's motivations, narratives, nature. I was in the Ninth Circuit Court next to the World Trade Center towers as an observer the day of the attack. And that's one of the reasons. And there are people with the name Scalora that colluded internationally and intercities and interstates to plant evidences next to the rolls with investigators next to it. They also increasingly have roles with cousins involved with home break-ins within foreign and domestic intelligence in my area through time, and U/S of that are also increasingly people tied to body dumping spots, and people that had conversations with my teachers and people with my schools behind my back that were fake. They're putting fake things in databases on a mass scale, originally still black pupils. So we have black pupils' white bias to discern not just that we've been taken to systems tactical terror from natures, but a breaching method is assigned that. And we're supposed to sense it, but we have our sense and sensibilities, to use Jane Austen's phrase, still used remotely. Since semi-ancient times, we have our sciences abridged. Forgiveness is so we don't leave out the breaching method with blame. It is inseparable from what causes negative value nature progressions acts in natures and causes them in New York City since before the World Trade Center attack. Yeah, we're gonna nature will demonstrate itself as the cause of negative value nature progressions acts in natures. If we don't, as long as we say systems, it's demonstrating we're saying systems A through Z. Tactical ulterior from how A has manifest the assignments of differences A through Z. All exceptions in exception nature shows that we are only natural now as criminal insidiousness. Nature itself shows the difference between nature as criminal insidiousness per its definition of the law. Natural law. This is what this is, having black pupils. Wait, so we have the same color eyes and different color eyes at the same time in exceptions, because nature's identity shows us how it uses differences. Not just with that. And we are a species volume that is a different species volume from the other species volumes. And we didn't invent that, and the other species bodies didn't invent that. Because there is a hyper additional, there's a distinct identity of hyper simultaneous nature per science that we could observe. And with this, it is more probable and practical demonstrably, increasingly, that pantheism is more probably having been about this one identity, the science of appreciating the identity of the hyper simultaneous, its identity of relationship to itself, equally value with any subject treatment we can make as truth, and the only increasing value of that. Know how nature itself shows us time 3 ways grouped distinctly from how 5 ways. There is an extent of the past that we know is true always. There is an extent of what is now active grouped that we know to an extent is true always. There are seasons to come. If they come here or not, we know the value of that is already here, increasingly true always. There's an extent of time that came before this that we could figure out by knowing that we don't know about it, and relative to the proportion we do know of the past that was true always. And there's an extent of the future that we don't know about. But as long as we're honest about that and the other 4 parts, the way it's grouped 5 ways, we can figure out more about that too. But see, we have been using, again, systems tactical ulterior from natures. So Facebook, in some ways, has roles with the word extremism, changing texts online and hiding texts, including as predicate acts with facts, roles with child abuses. The Facebook pages of Wethersfield campuses and of Hartford campuses, of the schools, the people running the schools, they're using them to hide lipoaggressions and to hide uses of their standing natures as actually recorded. We could observe the identities of the law, recorded as criminal insidiousness natures / hypercriminal insidiousness natures, and relative to criminal foreign influences / hypercriminal foreign influences. And forgiveness, again, it is not to leave out the breaching method, but it is also not to leave out anything, not the smallest finite detail. And so, in other words, nature shows us to appreciate the value of what came first. It's showing us to appreciate Native Americans, indigenous populations, because nature is hyper-native. It will not stay. It has a concentrated value relationship to Earth's special difference. Our special difference will be forced and is forced from here, not as death, but as Leaf of Hades, as Earth's concentrated value forced away, because we're being systems other than its own. That is also positive onto itself, or trying to be. Because even when it can't, as long as it's trying to be, it maintains a quality of diffusion here that is also positive onto itself and an appreciation of that special difference. And the method reveals evolution's fruits and gifts and means out of nowhere, including especially some ways where and how we are quality as fact cheap in nature. See, but we have the voices of experts of sciences A through Z, including the sports, measured and maintained self-valued uses of the names, of the identity, tactical ulterior from how nature uses identity. Because that's what it's doing, where and how it's showing us we're a distinct species by volume, where and how it's showing its identity. And we can be systems other than its own, where it's positive, where it has relativity to positive and negative simultaneously, the same ways we do, non-distinctly, but also distinctly. And this is how we can discern it, again, because its body is the one that is grouped 5 ways distinctly from 3 ways. And so this is what English was revealed to teach, the top of the Z. I learned this, and when I was in but I learned it on my own. but I learned that there's a theory about it where it's pointing back towards A. I don't remember her saying, and then and the bottom of the Z is pointing away. In other words, this is, and she didn't say about a special difference. This is also one of the ones I've been mentioning tied to the more further child offenders and police forums and people interstates. Like there's a Domain family involved with people from Colorado and teachers that repeat fake things, that had never had personal conversations with people, per a method /S that maintained originally and still certain type of victim / hyper victim that this breaching method knew would speak for the law, pretend they could speak for it with integrity when it knew they wouldn't be able to. Same thing with the religions. That's why the Old Testament and the Quran come with parts at the beginning that say only right here is what you have to defend. But no one even knows that part, because if they paid attention to that, that would solve all the issues between the people of the same religions, people of different religions, people that counter that too. That array is used remotely. See, we have experts on things like, I'm an expert on theology. People don't even know about that first part. Takes away the significance of their identity. It also simultaneously puts back the identity of the hyper simultaneous. Per science, we don't have to call it the hyper simultaneous, but nature seems to show this the best, this what it wants to be called. Just like black pupils. We have black pupils, whites of eyes, same color. In other words, to discern this stuff, in other words, to discern also how a predicate acts with facts delivery system method and or the difference of that or criminal insidiousness nature delivery system roles is what was propagated at countries A through Z before and then while they were formed. We know America's founding began with slavery entrenched North and South America. But other things, others ourselves, have been blamed for that, relative to how when Tucker Carlson was being explained that was being explained how Russian history contains the same thing. They were forced to begin with a breaching method already entrenched, just like America. And these countries were already roles here. There were Chinese monks that had to help. I don't go into it because I didn't have time to watch the video. I just noticed that one quick thing in it. Chinese monks helped with the chaos where still we don't have unity. All exceptions of it are criminal and seditious natures of unity. Still, we don't have independence. All exceptions are nature and demonstration of the same thing. Again, because we have been systems tactical ulterior from this one that pantheism is only appreciates. See, they engineered roles calling pantheism plural gods to change the histories, memory of history, and awareness of how nature answers our questions. The ancients couldn't fathom. People will forget or not be able to observe what nature is communicating to us, how it communicates. But see, there are proofs that a transnational organized crime group realized it was going to get caught. So they did crazy things to keep other things, others, ourselves. Blame for negative value nature progressions, acts of natures they caused. And then to get that, to force, trick, hurt, and persuade that to be defended syntactically. And then to keep that up long enough till everyone would stay stuck, self-valued, blaming other things, others, ourselves, and remote uses of that, not fathoming, not capable of fathoming. And so there are proofs that this is also what religious leaders wanted us to do. It's called this a hyper-archetypal criminal enterprise. And to discern its uses of names A through Z as criminal and seditious natures while pretending other, or sensing non-conformity with that for itself. It uses methods like this. It is manifest where foreign and domestic will play games, also made up. So if people try to talk about it, it makes it look like those were real phone conversations. They're putting fake transcripts over the phones. And then they're having, and then even they'll make a one fake exception to hide the ones before that fake. Changed. All natures of investigators are only capable of being used remotely, criminally, for and influenced, for what I caught them doing with the campuses. So Facebook recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. They have roles with FBI Director Robert Luskin and all sides of criminal and civil cases, including all sides of depositions and the difference of that as roles. There are people with the name McCord and people involved with suits where all sides of the criminal suit and the lawyers and the courts themselves have been used to screen foreign bodies, criminal enterprises, and sexual and medical offenders of kids involved with the same names, and enter services. A whole bunch of people tied to a Mike Pandolf, two McCord's people, and some girl in a suit with that, who are involved also with Main Street and Hartford, and along Wethersfield Avenue and Franklin Avenue with federal evidences, crime acts, and methods with FBI and the various police departments with the same house, increasingly house/S, one tied to them, involved within as police families too, police phones families, putting fake phone transcripts with police, collusions with people calling in fake things, fake motivations relative to their roles with the different natures of lobbyists. All aspects and nature of law readings have stayed criminally, foreign influence, tactically delusions throughout. So they also have the roles with these agencies where they bring the even like the difference between Facebook's roles with them or Hotmail's. they stole all these poems in Hotmail, and they made a Joshua Stryker lie to a girl about me with others I don't even know their names of. It has something to do with people at 3 spots at the end of the Berlin Turnpike that have increasingly been planting evidences intercities, and as ones involved with the World Trade Center attack, and with Dean's family members and people associated with murders, intercities connected with the same house near me, /S. And it's not personal. They brought this up. They're also forging and switching names. And it's with, even when it's personal, like with their roles with the principal child abuser, they're lying about what they think about people's motivation. So get them on paper about that too, though. I'm just noting you, people. Someone please tell Judge Napolitano, because there are proofs that he must not see my post, or he's missing what I said first about those predicate acts. So they all natures of evidence perception and reality perception are worse than a skill. Otherwise, that body is sense. Even if that body is a majority of people, even if it is everyone, Black people. I thank you for listening. Bye. Thank you.